What if I told you that everything you think you know about one of Hinduism's most beloved deities is just the surface of a much deeper, more fascinating story? The elephant-headed god Ganesha might be instantly recognizable worldwide, but the shocking truth behind his origins has been hiding in plain sight for centuries. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the untold history of Ganesha that mainstream sources won't tell you. A history that stretches back thousands of years before the familiar elephant head story was ever told. And trust me, what archaeologists and scholars have uncovered will completely transform how you see this ancient deity. You're probably familiar with Ganesha as the remover of obstacles, the patron of arts and sciences, and the god of beginnings. His image graces temples, homes, and businesses across India and beyond. But here's what most people don't realize. The popular story of how Shiva replaced his son's head with an elephant's is just one small chapter in a much longer, more complex narrative. The real story begins in the ancient hymns of the Rig Veda, dating back to the 2nd millennium BCE. Hymn 223:1 invokes a figure called Ganapati, described as the Lord of Multitudes and the Supreme Seer. Now, does this sound familiar? It should. The name Ganapati is a compound word, Gana meaning group and Pati meaning ruler or lord. But here's where it gets interesting. This early Vedic Ganapati might not be the Ganesha we know today at all. In fact, another hymn, 10.112.9, uses the term Ganapati to describe Indra, a major Vedic deity associated with rain and thunder. This suggests something remarkable, that Ganapati might have initially been a title rather than the name of a specific deity. Some scholars even propose that the Ganapati of the Rig Veda might actually refer to Brahmanaspati, a Vedic divinity revered as the lord of sacred prayers and the destroyer of enemies. Still with me? Because this is where the trail gets even more fascinating. Moving to the Yajurveda, we find appeals to a deity with some very suggestive names. The tusked one, elephant-faced, and with a curved trunk. These descriptions bear a striking resemblance to the physical characteristics of Ganesha. But there's a debate. Some scholars argue these hymns might be post-Vedic additions, raising questions about their authenticity within the original Vedic corpus. And here's something that might surprise you. Ganesha doesn't appear in the main narratives of the Ramayana and Mahabharata, the great epics dated to the Vedic period. His absence from these foundational texts suggests he hadn't yet attained widespread recognition as a major deity. The famous story of Ganesha serving as Vyasa's scribe for the Mahabharata, that was likely added centuries later, around the 8th or 9th century CE. Now you might be wondering, if not from these ancient texts, where did the Ganesha we know come from? This is where archaeology enters our story. Some of the earliest potential artistic representations come from the Indus Valley Civilization and pre-Mauryan period, where terracotta images with elephantine features have been discovered. But it's during the Kushana period, around the 2nd to 3rd century CE, that we find the first definitive stone images of Ganesha in Mathura. The real breakthrough, though, comes during the Gupta period, between the 4th and 6th centuries CE. This era witnessed a significant surge in the worship and artistic depiction of Ganesha across India. A prominent example is the 5th century CE sculpture found in cave number 6 at Udayagiri in Madhya Pradesh, often regarded as the oldest datable representation of Ganesha in India. I know what you're thinking, but what about the elephant head? Where did that come from? There are multiple theories, and they're all fascinating. One of the most compelling suggests that Ganesha evolved from a group of 4 troublesome spirits called Vinayakas, mentioned in texts from the 7th to 4th century BCE. These early Vinayakas were considered creators of obstacles but were easily propitiated. Over time, these multiple spirits apparently coalesced into a single deity, initially associated with creating obstacles and later with removing them. Another theory connects Ganesha with semi-divine beings known as yakshas and nagas. The example of an elephant-headed yaksha from Amaravati dating to the 2nd century CE, provides a tantalizing link. Both share the characteristic potbelly and an ambivalent nature, sometimes benevolent, sometimes mischievous. And here's a theory that might really surprise you. Some scholars suggest Ganesha originated as a totemic emblem of certain tribal groups in India, particularly those with connections to the elephant. This provides a potential socio-cultural context for the elephant head, suggesting it might have initially represented a specific group's identity or power animal before becoming widely recognized as divine. The iconography of Ganesha evolved significantly over time as well. Did you know that early images often depicted him with only 2 arms? The transition to the more common 4-armed form likely occurred as his roles and attributes expanded. Even the mouse as his vehicle is a relatively late addition, appearing in sculptures only from the 7th century onward. Now, let's address what you're probably wondering. Where does the famous story of Ganesha getting his elephant head come from? Interestingly, this narrative emerges primarily in the later Puranas, composed from about 600 CE onwards, potentially thousands of years after the first mentions of Ganapati. The most common version involves Parvati creating Ganesha, Shiva unknowingly beheading him, and subsequently replacing his head with that of an elephant. But why an elephant? The symbolic significance is profound. The elephant head represents wisdom, intelligence, and discriminative power. His large ears symbolize the ability to listen to those seeking help. The broken tusk signifies sacrifice for a greater cause. His potbelly represents the universe and the ability to digest all experiences. Even his mouse vehicle symbolizes the overcoming of desires and ego. What makes Ganesha truly remarkable is how his influence extended beyond Hinduism. He's worshipped by some Jains, has varied representations in Tibetan Buddhism, and is assimilated into Japanese Buddhism as Kangitan. Some scholars have even drawn parallels between Ganesha and figures like the Roman god Janus, both associated with beginnings. Regional variations add another layer to this complex picture. Maharashtra holds a particularly strong association with Ganesha, marked by the grand public celebrations of Ganesh Chaturthi. In South India, especially Tamil Nadu, he's known as Pillayar, with the term potentially having roots in the old Tamil word for young elephant. So what does all this mean? The Ganesha we know today isn't simply the product of a single myth or tradition, but rather the culmination of thousands of years of religious evolution, cultural exchange, and symbolic development. His journey from obscure Vedic mentions to one of Hinduism's most beloved deities reflects the rich, diverse tapestry of Indian religious history. This complex origin story doesn't diminish Ganesha's significance. If anything, it enhances it. Understanding the layers of history, symbolism, and cultural integration that formed Ganesha gives us a deeper appreciation for his enduring appeal and the sophisticated religious thinking that created him. Now, I'm curious, did any of these origin theories surprise you? Has this changed how you view Ganesha? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this exploration of Ganesha's hidden origins fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos that delve beneath the surface of familiar religious and cultural icons. Next week, I'll be uncovering the shocking truth behind another beloved deity that will completely change how you see ancient mythology. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next video.